I'm done with this job thing. Just put my 2 weeks in, and I lasted a week because I was like, I don't think I'm gonna come in. They're like, well, you don't have to come in anymore. I'm like, great, that's awesome. Then I quit,
Yeah.
and then when I ended up doing Downstar full time, then it just gave me more time to do more.
Hey everyone, I'm very proud to represent our sponsor for this podcast. We're actually located here in Santa Paula inside A Plus Branding. They're your one-stop shop for promotional supply products such as t-shirts, custom hats, custom apparels, you name it, they brand it. A Plus Branding provides all your promotional needs. They also provide vinyl decals such as stickers. They even did this wall here for me to make sure that this room is branded properly, to make sure that the guests that do come here feels that experience. It's also a really cool partnership because we work directly with brand owners, business owners. So when they come in here, they also have a one-stop solution for their needs. So make sure to go ahead and check out A Plus Branding. You can check them out at their website, aplusbranding.com, and you can go ahead and request a quote from them. Now back to the show. What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode here at Voiced Podcast. So a few months ago, I was doing some filming at Ventura, and I shot a video for a client who was doing a podcast for. And this was the first time I met this guy who I have on for this episode. And his setup was totally cool. I've heard about him from some of my friends, such as Rigo and Johnny, and he was a guest in there. So I was curious about who this guy was, but we started following each other randomly. So I'm very curious to learn about his story. I've heard about him, so I wanted to bring him on because with his experience in business, and I think he took on 75 hard. He's finished 75 hard recently as well. So it's gonna be an interesting kind of conversation. So welcome to the show, Frank Garcia, aka Downstar.
Yes, sir.
How are you doing today?
I'm great, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. So the way that the mic works is actually on the side. So here, let me fix that. Yeah, just like that.
All right, cool. Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
I know it's a weird. I don't have as cool of equipment as you have yet.
You know what it was is when I was starting a podcast,
Uh-huh.
I knew if I didn't get something that was going to last me for a
Mm-hmm.
long time, then if the episodes didn't go well, I could just scrap it.
Mm.
You know, if I didn't invest in the equipment and the microphones and the headphones and things like that, I knew it would be easy for me just to be like, it didn't work out.
So you're not very you're not a perfectionist. You're okay with trying things out and then improving along the way.
Well, I wanted to podcast.
Mm.
I really wanted to.
And this
But
is
as being, as being a business owner and somebody that's just busy all the time,
Yeah.
it's easy to let go of something that I want to do because I have so many things that I have to do.
oh, that's right. You have
But
to make that priorities.
I really wanted to force myself into podcasting. So when I started, I had a conversation with my wife and I was like, look, this is what I want to get. This is the equipment, but I don't know if I should do it. I think it was maybe like 1,600 at the time. She's like, if that's what you want to do and that stuff's what you're going to need,
That's awesome.
do it. And I did it because I knew if I would have just got some just mics from Best Buy or something like that, recorded off the phone or whatever,
Yeah.
it could have been something like, well, I'm just too busy to do that.
Yeah.
And it would have just fallen to the wayside,
You care about your craft, then is what I'm hearing.
Podcasting, I love it. I would do podcasting. Well, I do podcasting as a hobby. We don't make any money from it.
But you make content out of it
Yes.
and you build brand.
Yeah. Which all comes secondary to the hobby.
Right.
My first main hobby, which is cars,
Yeah.
turned into a business, turned into my life, and then turned into an obligation. And I never want that to happen with podcasts.
Love that.
I never want it to get to a point where I have to have certain guests on that are going to give me these certain clips, that I'm going to have to force the conversation. I'm going to make my guest feel uncomfortable because I know that that's going to make a good reel, The way that I look at it is that this conversation that we're having right now, it's not going to get better if somebody was listening or if 100,000 people were listening.
For sure.
It's now it's a gift to the world, whoever wants to listen to. And if they decide to listen to it, then that's good. And if they don't, I mean, we still had a great day,
Bro,
you know?
that's exactly how I think with content, you know? Like I sometimes I get less than 10 views on or listens on episodes, you know? And I don't judge myself for it anymore. I've always been a type of person who did these because I loved hearing people's stories and documenting them.
Yeah.
You know, and also I was driving Lyft a while back in 2019, 2018. And I had a way of, I don't know, when I was going to school, it was my way to make money on the side. And I would ask a lot of strangers random questions, you know, and then I would just like hearing their stories.
Yeah.
You know, and then someone told me, hey, you should start a podcast. So that's when it started in 2019. And then I did it in my car. That's my first episode.
Oh, wow.
It was a $50 what was it from I forgot what was the brand called, but it was a USB mic. It was a snowball.
Yes.
Snowball,
Yeah.
right? That was my first ever mic. I was like, man, how do I? Then I started getting interested in how do I improve the quality.
Yeah. You know what's so funny about that is that the Christmas before I started the podcast, so maybe 2017 Christmas, my sister Brandy, she knew that I wanted to start podcasts, and she bought me 2 of those snow cone mics. But the only issue with those is the computer reads them as the same exact thing.
The
So
same
you
thing.
can't have 2 mics.
Unless you create a MIDI
So I think
separation.
at the time it was something that you would have to send it to the company, and they were able to do
That's
something
right.
inside of it.
I do remember
You know,
that.
so if that would have worked out, then I would have probably rocked
You know
those
what?
mics for a
No,
long
you know
time.
what? I do remember that. I did reach out to the company and said, hey, how come I can't do this? I did your troubleshooting and it's not working. Oh, let us send you a new one with a different like audio setting.
Yeah,
or
so
something
the
like that.
computer reads it as 2 different mics. You
Yeah,
know,
that
so
was interesting.
So then I didn't end up doing the podcast, and then it was still in the back of my mind, like, oh, you got to do it. And then I just finally, you know what it was is I had a buddy in the car community who did a podcast, and he wanted to do a podcast with me, so he came to the shop and did it. And I literally saw him bring in a backpack and had all of his equipment inside of a backpack. I seen him set it up. We did the podcast.
Yeah.
And then I seen when it came out, the video and everything. And after I seen all that, I was like, wow, it was that easy. So he's the one that sent me everything
Nice.
to what mics to get, what cables to get, what pop filters, and what recorder. And at the beginning, I was on a Zoom H6, which is awesome. I don't know
Yeah,
if you're
I've heard of a
familiar
Zoom.
with that one.
The Zoom is an interface too, right?
So it's like a handheld kind of recorder. It looks like something if you were doing interviews, like
I think
for the
I did.
news or something
I
like
might have that on my wish list
Yeah,
on Amazon.
it's really really cool. Now, you were saying you did a podcast while you were driving. I've actually done
Not
one,
while I'm
or
driving,
in
but
the
in my
car,
car,
in the car.
yes.
But I've done one while I was driving.
Interesting.
With that recorder because it can record off of batteries.
Yep.
So I even did a podcast in front of the Hollywood sign. So on the bottom of the Hollywood sign, there's like a little park right there.
Yeah.
And there's and I had this like portable table. So I set up the table, had the recorder, and we recorded out there. Just yeah.
That's astounding, man. You're actually, you know, a while back when I was just doing my podcast at the time, I had many ideas of like how to try to create different context for the content as well, just to kind of change up the dynamics.
For sure.
You know? But that's interesting. You're actually like making me feel like, damn, maybe I should explore other options as well, just for fun.
I mean, you just have to think about it. What is the
Yeah.
bare necessities that you need and able to record?
sure.
And it just came to that you need the batteries for the recorder and then your camera. You know, you have extra batteries or what have you. But then you could podcast literally anywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with the apps that they came up with, you know, I started using before it was owned by Spotify. It was Anchor.
Okay, got you.
Anchor, like, really, and this is not a sponsored video or audio recording, but at the time, that's what got me started. I actually heard it from Gary Vee, and he's like, hey, you could literally start a podcast, because at the time I thought it was so much more complex,
For sure, for sure.
but now they made it so much more simpler.
Yeah, for sure. I think when we started, still to this day, I host on SoundCloud.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we'll host on SoundCloud,
Wow.
and then it just spreads it to
That's awesome.
all the other platforms. So I literally just upload to SoundCloud, and then I'll upload to YouTube directly. You know, when I was watching your podcast, I seen that you have video on Spotify.
Yeah, dude.
Was that hard to get that done?
No, I mean, I guess if you're saying from a learning perspective, yes, but now because I have a system kind of operated into it where I use AI to kind of chop up the angles, and then the audio matching, and then after that I have editors who help me out create the
I
videos.
mean, just to get the video on Spotify.
No, actually, the Spotify. Remember, I told you it's owned by, what I was using before, Anchor.
Okay.
So Spotify has a feature where you can upload your podcast as a video.
Oh wow!
So the only two platforms right now that allow video podcasts completely, that can also be converted into a podcast, is YouTube and Spotify.
Wow, you're definitely giving me something to think
Yeah,
about, because
yeah.
right now I just have it on YouTube. But when I put yours on, and I usually just have my phone laying, and I saw the video, I was like, wow,
That's cool.
It was
That's
very
cool.
surprising, because I'm not used to seeing video on
Yeah,
Spotify. It's
for
like
sure.
Rogan.
Yeah,
and
usually
I
I
think
think it started from Joe Rogan when I started seeing. I was like, oh, you can upload on
yeah,
Spotify.
wow,
I want to
that's
test with that.
that's very cool. I gotta look into that.
Yeah, no, let me know. I'd be glad
Thank
to help you out.
Yeah, for sure.
But actually, let's pivot back a little bit.
For sure.
I love that we're talking about mics already.
Yeah.
It's rare for me to come across other content creators that understand equipment.
Yeah.
But for anybody listening, let's start with the background. I mean, you said you have Downstar,
Yes.
right? Which you guys sell mechanical parts for cars or
Just think about it as jewelry.
jewelry.
for
Okay,
your car.
to dress up your car.
To
I
dress up,
believe you said
your
you had that.
engine bay.
And then you
Yeah.
have Downstar Skate.
Yeah, so I started the skate division of Downstar maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
And then maybe about 2 years ago, we actually opened up a physical shop. So at our location in Ventura, the front showroom is a skate shop.
I remember that.
So we'll sell our skate apparel, plus we have accounts with other brands.
Right.
Baker, Death Wish, Shake Junt, a bunch of other brands. And yeah, it's like our own little skate shop.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you always been a skater?
Yeah, actually, ever since I was a kid, that was probably, I would say that's my first passion ever.
Really?
Would be skateboarding.
Interesting.
Yeah.
When I came here from Philippines, I tried skating. I was like 7. I sucked ass. I was like, nope, not for me.
I mean, that's how it goes, Nobody gets on it, and
Actually,
it's great.
more so because I think the time I tried doing it, everybody else was doing it. Everybody else was better than me, and I didn't want to like try to catch up.
For sure. Yeah.
So, but anyways, going back into that, your brand revolves around Downstar,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. So
Tell us how you got involved in that. I'm just curious to see how your story just built up.
It kind of actually all goes back to skateboarding. So take it back to about 2001. In high school at Wainimi High School.
Okay, you went to Wainimi.
I was maybe a sophomore, I believe, at that time. I was always a hustler. I was always selling things, finding the value in things that maybe other people couldn't see, or connecting the dots 2 and 2. And that was about the time where online music, like peer-to-peer sharing, was going on. A little after Napster, because I never used Napster itself, but it was around that time where music was online for free.
Right.
So I always loved music ever since I was a child,
Nice.
and I was always, I had to buy CDs, at the swap meet or what have you, any way that I could acquire music. And then I figured out how to download music. So I started downloading music, and then I had a buddy at the time who ended up getting the Eminem Marshall Mathers LP before it was released. So it was probably about 2 weeks before it was released. He actually had the new album. And I'm just trying to download the whole album, trying to figure out all the songs that are gonna be on it. Because it's not like today. Like you
Right.
had to hunt down the playlist, you had to search for the songs, and then
Yeah.
sometimes it would say the name of the song, but it would be another song, or it would just be a loop of the chorus.
Right.
So he actually had the real CD, and he had a lot of them printed out, and he was like, "Hey, if you want to sell some of these, I want $5, or you sell 'em for $5, and you get to keep like $2. I want $3 or
He
whatever."
brokered you off.
Yeah. So I was like, "All right, cool." So I started selling CDs, and I mean, it was so long ago, so I can't really pinpoint what it actually was, but I think that that's what it was that actually put two and two together, that I could sell music. So I started to all the music that I already had. I had booklets and booklets of CDs. I made a spreadsheet of everything that I had, alphabetical order from whoever,
You're right, right, right.
No Doubt, Snoop Dogg, anything. I had all types of genres of music.
Wow.
And I had that list with me. So then I became known as the guy who sells CDs at school. So I'd pass around the list in class. I would sell to teachers. I would sell to everybody.
Wow.
And
Can't believe
this-
teachers let that fly too.
they're paying $15 a CD just like we
Yeah,
were.
yeah, for
So
sure.
let's say this kid that's selling them for $4 a piece, like I'd rather buy that. So that was the thing. It was $4, and they say, "Hey, I want this CD," and I'd say, "Okay, cool, I'll bring it tomorrow." So I would go home. I would have to, and it's crazy for me to even like talk about this because it doesn't even seem like the same lifetime. Like I can't.
Does feel so. From my experience, music to me was acquiring it from LimeWire.
It was crazy, man, and I would go home, I would fulfill these orders, and then I would be so excited to get back to school the next day so that I could make this money.
Wow.
So I knew that I was gonna sell a CD to John at third period. So right when we come in, like John was excited as I was. He wanted the Master P or whatever it was. I
Wow.
would give him the CD. He would give me the money, and
Right.
that's it. So at a very young age, I knew the value of a dollar, and I knew how to make money on my own. So I was thinking, like, you know what? This is kind of a business. Like, what do I call this? So at the time, I'm into skateboarding, and there was a brand. It was called Darkstar. And I really liked that brand, and I liked the name and the logo that they had. It was super cool. So I did like a play off of that. So I said, well, what about Downstar? Like an upside down star. And it's like, all right, that's cool. So for the cover page of the spreadsheet that I had got like the Carl's Jr. star, flipped it upside down, like on MS Paint,
Right,
you
right,
know?
right.
And then I put Downstar, one of the like the WordPress fonts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then that was the cover page. And that's when I used that name first. And if you have the Hueneme High School 2001 yearbook, there's a picture of me in there with it. Looks like a shirt, but somebody in the yearbook committee told me, "Hey, can I take a picture of you?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." I had a jacket on, so I got the paper and put it in my jacket and held it like that, so it looks like a T-shirt, and it even says like Downstar ? And then it says something about, oh, some students made their own business or something in that sort. So it's
Talk about some marketing
Bro,
strategy.
insane, bro. I'm 16. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm like, well, this is me. This is what I do, And now I have that timestamp forever.
Love
So
that.
the name is from 2001.
Right.
So long story short, after that name came up, I just fell in love with it. So every time I would write on my backpack or have a new screen name or an email or what have you, it was always Downstar. So when the time came for me to start my automotive business, of course the name was Downstar.
Right. That's interesting approach. I mean, for someone who was very interested in skating and then got into the entrepreneurship of selling music, then came up with the name Downstar, and you've pivoted towards selling part
That's
ways
like
to
nuts
dress your
and bolts.
cars,
Yes.
right? How did you come across that idea?
So maybe about 2000. Well, when I got my car, when I got my first car, that's kind of what gave me the passion for cars. My skateboard went in the trunk, and I pretty much didn't skate as much as I did because I got into cars. So I'm into cars, and then I start learning how to mod cars, and that passion just exploded,
Wow.
right? And then I really didn't skate much after that because now I had another means
Right.
of transportation. So then, so then, fast forward to 2009, I end up getting a Honda Civic.
Okay.
It's a right-hand drive from Japan. So I got the car. It was imported, and I was heavy into the Honda community at that time. And I started to clean it up because I was going to paint the engine bay and shave and tuck it and make it look like a show car. So as I'm doing that, I want to switch out some of the hardware because A, I'm missing some of it because the car came from Japan. So
Right,
it's
right.
didn't have a motor in it, and I'm missing some of the hardware. And B, I wanted something that looked better than stock. So I was on the forums at that time, and I would see some people that maybe had some new hardware or some clean looking hardware, and I would ask them, like, hey, where'd you guys get that?
Yeah.
And everybody was really gatekeepy at that time. And
Really?
nobody wanted to share where they got it from. And there wasn't any business that I could go on their website. You're talking 2009, like the internet is relatively still new. If you're not savvy on for the internet, like you really don't even use it. Like it wasn't a normal thing for somebody to have
Right,
an
right.
email at that time. Now if you don't have an email, you're like, okay,
yeah,
that's
bro.
crazy,
Yeah.
So I have it's called a build thread. So that's where you're building your car on the forum. It'll say whatever the title is of your build thread, and then you update it every day or every time you do something new to your car. So my build thread was I got the car, I'm doing this, I'm cleaning that, and I kept updating it. And then I was looking for the hardware, and then I actually thought, well, let me just go to a hardware store and see what they have. So I took a bolt, took it over to them. I said, hey, do you have something for this that looks a little nicer? So then they actually had something that I've seen on previous cars before. So then I put that on my build thread, and I put it on my pictures, and then I updated my build thread on the forum.
Right.
And then I had some people that were asking me like, "Hey, where did you get the hardware?" And that hustler mind just clicked in. I was like, "Well, I got it here. It's $1 a piece if you want one." And they're like, "Okay, cool. I'll take
Interesting.
20 of them." All right, 20 of them plus whatever, $5 shipping. Send it over. They send me the money. I went to the hardware store and bought extra pieces, and then sent it to them. They got it. They put it on their build thread, and people were asking them, and they're like, "Oh, this guy, he's the one that I got it from." And then it just spread from there. So that was April of 2009.
Wow.
When I got my first sale. And from then, I from 2009 to 2012, I was working my full-time job at Best Buy as a installer and running the business at the same time. And in 2012, I was able to quit my job and do Downstar full-time. And I've been doing it full-time ever since then.
For 12 years now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive, man. Honestly,
Thank you.
I think it's always inspiring to hear people start from wherever they needed to start and build something from then on, right?
For sure.
I'm just curious. I mean, even before you did the music, do you feel like have you always been entrepreneurial, or did you was that something you just kind of like stumbled upon?
That entrepreneur, I didn't even know what that meant at that time.
I mean, back then at the time,
then,
entrepreneur was weird.
Yeah, who even knew
Yeah.
what that meant? Or it's not like it was today. Now, if you're asking me, like, if I was a hustler, yeah, ever since I was a kid, no matter what it was. So say like back in the day when they had Pacific View Mall, even when it was one story.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. It had a skate shop called White Sands. They also had another shop. It was called Mr. Rags. So Mr. Rags would sell, I would say maybe like streetwear at that time, like Echo, Sean John Rockaware, and they would also sell some skateboard stuff, right?
Is that the one that
So
sold like Pro Club and Chaka?
that's Rags, and
Okay.
Rags is still there. Shout out to Rags, man. The owner of that is a real cool dude. But yeah, it was called Mr. Rags. I don't know if they actually have any sort of affiliation, but either way, they would have like a sale rack, and they have like a World Industry skateboard sweater, and the sweater's like $15 because
Yeah.
it's on sale. But White Sands sells that same sweater for $40. So I would buy it at Mr. Rags, take it to White Sands, return it for store credit, and buy a skateboard.
Wow.
So I was able to get a skateboard for like $15.
Wow.
Yeah, and I would just do things like that all the time. Like it was it always just clicked to me. And it clicked to me so easily that it really surprised me when it didn't click to other people.
Interesting. Yeah, because like even for me, I was never that intuitive about connecting the dots together to be able to provide value to others. But like for you, I mean, would you say like you had parents or guidance that kind of showed you possibilities like that?
I think it was just my lifestyle that I grew up in. It was my father, my mother, and my two sisters and myself. So a family of five, and my father was the only one that was working. So we didn't have a lot of extra money to, buy me skateboards or skate shoes or whatever whenever I needed. I had what I needed, and that's pretty much it. And at a young age, I knew not to ask for things that I didn't need.
Wow.
Because I knew that my father was trying his best to make it all work. I don't know what it was of me to be able to understand that, because that's more of like a mature thing to understand.
No,
When you're a
okay,
kid,
very.
you shouldn't be able to recognize that, or even have to recognize that. You're a kid, dude. You're living your life. But somehow I knew at a young age that if I wanted something, I had to go get it myself and figure out how to get it. Or if it's like, if I get lunch money, maybe I just don't eat today and I keep the lunch money.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Being able to start at that mindset at such a young age. I mean, yeah, at the time you were struggling, but like it's developed your character.
Yeah, for sure. Everything that I've gone through has lent me where I'm at
Yeah.
right now. So like, it would have been nice to have different paths in life, but then I don't know, because like the one thing that you did or you didn't do can change the whole trajectory of your life.
For sure.
Even this podcast, even me not being here right now, me
You're right.
being 5 minutes late, 5 minutes early, taking a different turn, taking a different route here, all of that stuff can determine where your life is going to go to.
Yeah. I also think that one little decisions do matter. But like the fact that you're even expanding on even the smallest amount of decision making, I mean, I imagine, do you consider yourself to be a very grateful, or do you practice a lot of gratitude?
I would like to say I do. I get really caught up in lifestyle and the way things are. The life that I live now is nothing like when I was younger. Nothing like before I started my business. The life that my children are living isn't anywhere close to the life that I lived. So I'm very grateful for it, and I have to keep reminding myself. But it's like, this is just life now.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So you're just in the moment, and there's times when you have to kind of remind yourself, okay, well, regardless of whatever's happening, right? Because
Yeah.
we all face different problems throughout the day.
For real, yeah. Like, I grew up in Wainimi, in Oxnard, and I went to Parkview, Eo Green, and Wainimi. They're all like a mile away from each other.
Right.
That like 5 mile radius was, that was my life. That's all I know. And I'll take my son down there, and he's like, "Damn, this is where you used to live," And now I live in Camarillo, and I couldn't sleep last night because I had a Celsius. Really, what is it? Is that's the one with like the very high caffeine? I think it was like 200 milligrams of caffeine. So
is that the one with the Celsius heat?
I don't know. It's non-alcoholic, but it's like an energy
Yeah,
drink.
I used to work at the gym, so Celsius was a core product.
Yeah. So I had that last night for dinner. My wife's like, it's a little late to be having that. So it's bedtime and my brain is just cooking. I'm like, dude, I'm just gonna go for a run. So I did a run around the block,
Wow.
and as I'm like doing a cool down, walking down the street, I'm just looking at my house and just being like, dude, how did this even happen? Like, I always say it, and like to other people, I don't know if it registers or not, but it's like I have 7 palm trees. That's like, to me, it's like when you see a palm tree, that is like success.
You made it.
When I was younger, I'm
yeah,
going to these house parties and off of like H Street and Gonzalez,
Right.
by the cemetery, and you're seeing all these nice track homes and they have palm trees. I'm like, oh my god, these people are so rich, dude. How do they afford this? But it's just like it's all mindset.
Wow. Yeah, no.
But to get back to what you say about being grateful, like it's those random moments where I'll just like stop and just look at my house and look at like everything. It's just it's surreal.
Yeah, no, definitely those moments when you start to realize where you've been at, and you start to become way more appreciative towards them even more.
Yeah.
So talking back with your shop with Downstar, right? 12 years down. How has that evolved over time? I mean, I imagine, when you start selling the bolts and the pieces of equipment that, car enthusiasts at the time really wanted, I'm sure you started building up your business differently. Like, how has that evolved over time?
Well, it's been 12 years since I've done it full time, but I've been doing it since 2009.
Right.
So as I'm working
That's right, you did more.
on the business. So what is it? What does that mean? Like 15 years, something like that.
Yeah, 15 years.
But when I first started, it was just a side hustle, but I've had side hustles before, even before the CDs. Like I used to sell Beanie Babies. Like with the family, we would go to.
By the way, some of them are valued pretty highly right now.
They were back in the day.
Now
I don't know.
they're coming back up recently.
Are they
from
good?
what
Because
heard.
I still got them, and my wife laughs at me. But what is the place that they sell like the like cards, the birthday cards? It's
Like Hallmark or something?
Hallmark. Yes, it was.
Oh, I can't believe I remember that.
Yeah,
Are they still around?
Hallmark. I don't know, but back in the day, Hallmark, like standalone places, they would have the Beanie Babies, and we would know when the shipments would come in, and I would go with my mom and my aunts and my grandma, and we would go, and I would collect the Beanie Babies. So, and then we would sell them and trade them. I used to sell and trade Hot Wheels. So I always had side hustles. Always had some sort of side hustle. Even when I worked at Best Buy, I had a side hustle. Like, say if you had a stock stereo, like you had a 2000 Chevy Tahoe, right? And then you're just like, oh yeah, I want to put a new stereo in. We would take out the stock stereo. We would put the new stereo in, and I would put the stock stereo on like the counter. And as I'm ringing up the customer, I'm like, oh, did you want the stock stereo, or do you want me to throw it away? I'm like, oh no, go ahead, throw it away. I'm like, okay, cool. Boom, that night I would go on eBay and put it up.
Wow.
And I would sell it for like 50, 60, 80 bucks. Quick, dude. And that was a side hustle. So Downstar was just another side hustle to me. And then the first product that we had, it was just selling, And then I had people asking, well, do you have this hardware? And at the same time, I'm building my car. So I'm like, well, I don't want to put in the engine with this old hardware. Let me just go to the hardware store and see what they have for this application or this one or whatever. So then I started to develop more kits, and then I started to realize the more things that I put out there, the more people wanted to buy them.
Mm-hmm.
And it just started to grow and grow. And then it turned into a time where I'm working at Best Buy, and then I'm taking a break on the car I'm working on, go and check my PMs,
Yeah.
the personal
Yeah,
messages,
yeah,
to check them. And it's like, hey man, can I get a 20 pack, or what, can I get this or that? And then I ended up getting my own website. So then it just started to organically grow. And I just kept feeding it and feeding it. And I think I could have went full time in 2000. I know I could have went full time in 2011, but I was just bred to have a job. That's just how I grew up. Everybody that I knew, everybody my entire life, every family member,
Yeah, I think most of us,
everybody.
have been conditioned to say that, hey, either you go to school or get a full time job, and or a school would be meant for you to get a full time job, right? That you
For
can
sure.
really, get paid highly on.
For sure. And at that time, I'm working as an install tech, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm making good money. I'm making more money than anybody inside of the store besides like management or something like that. So, I'm chilling. I'm making good money. I'm making this side hustle money.
Mm-hmm.
But then it started to turn into like, wow, my PayPal deposits are more than my 2 week check.
Wow.
So then I was like, why am I even coming to work then?
Right.
This, to make this money that's
Mm-hmm.
more than I'm making at my job, I'm making it on, late at night,
Yeah,
or
yeah. You make it in a day.
whenever I could fulfill these orders.
You can make in an hour what you can, or 2, 3, 4 hours what you can make in 2 weeks.
Yeah, for sure, dude. And I was just like, I mean, at that time, it wasn't that much of a drastic difference. So say maybe like my check, my 2 week check would be, I don't know, 800,
800,
900 bucks, and then my deposit would be like 1,000 bucks. But to make the 900 bucks took 40 hours, 80 hours, or whatever it was. At that time, I was kind of like leaving a lot too, so I wasn't working 80 hours every 2 weeks. Because I didn't have to. I had my side hustle coming in, so I was
Bye
like,
guys,
all
I
right.
gotta go.
Yeah, for sure, for real. Like I would be scheduled to leave at 6, but as soon as the guy came in at 1, that I would just be like, okay, cool. I'm gonna leave. You got everything taken care
Yeah.
of.
Hey
And
boss, can I leave real quick?
yeah, they didn't care, dude, because they're, as long as
Yeah, as long as
everything's taken care of, they didn't care.
Wow.
So then it just clicked in where I was like, well, I'm not gonna work anymore. And I think what it really was is when I met my wife. I met her in April of 2012, and I was hooked from the beginning. I've head over heels, dude. And there were so many times that we were hanging out, and then I would have to get up in the morning to go to work, or cut the time short or whatever. I'm like, you know what? I'm done with this job thing. So I just put my 2 weeks in, and I lasted a week because I was like, I don't think I'm going to come in. They're like, well, you don't have to come in anymore. I'm like, great. That's awesome. And then I quit.
Yeah.
And then when I ended up doing Downstar full time, then it just gave me more time to do more research on what other aspects of the car to dress up or what have you. And at this time it was only Hondas because that's all I was into.
Right.
So I started to go to a lot of events, flying out, meeting people from coast to coast, and setting up a little booths. And yeah, the name just spread fast from there.
Okay. Well, would you say at the time there was other people that was also selling what you provided, or were you kind of like a niche, very service or product provider?
Yeah, the there wasn't any competition. There wasn't anybody that was doing what we were doing. We were definitely like paving the way.
Wow.
Like it's not like what we do hasn't been done before, but not in the demographic that I was in, because my second car was I still have it to this day is a '69 Chevelle. So when I got into cars, I was into muscle cars, hot rods. So it was already a known thing that yeah, you replace the bolts with ARP or chrome bolts or whatever. So when I go into Hondas and I'm trying to find them, like wow, nobody does this, and then I started to do it, and it wasn't till maybe about a few years after that I started to see other companies kind of to dabble into it. And even to this day, like there's other people that do it, but we had such a long head start that there's really no competition. It's just we just do our own thing, and the way that we've branded the company is people want our stuff because what it represents. Like you don't need it,
Right.
like you don't need the shoes that you have. You just need shoes just so you can walk. You have the shoes that you want because it's what it represents
Right. Right.
to
Right.
you.
Right.
And that's what, like, people don't need our product. The car comes with hardware
But
already.
you create a demand.
Yeah,
You
for
create
sure.
a need because when people like it's like seeing shirts or other hats or whatever type of product that you're looking at. You want it because it's a part of your identity.
For sure.
Right? Just like seeing you in the car. I'd be doing myself shooting myself in the foot if I try to even say that I know anything about cars or as far as that end. I've never been into cars. If anything, like I'd have to ask other people about car parts, right? But to me, it's interesting that you were, you found this little niche, right? And you decided that this was something you could take with you for a while, and you've consistently built on it, right?
sure.
At what point did you realize that this was something that you can take with you for, for a longer period of time?
It was probably in about 2012 where I understood that this was something that was gonna go as far as I wanted it to
Right.
go. Because when I
Interesting.
when I started it to 2012, it was still kind of honestly maybe even a little before that, maybe about 2000 late 2010
Interesting.
that I started to realize that I actually had something because it was just my mentality wasn't there. It was just a side hustle, and it wasn't something that it was gonna be a career or my future
For
or
sure, for
anything
sure.
like that.
Yeah, most people. I mean, I started my podcast with no intention of like trying to monetize or even like eventually starting an agency.
Yeah.
But it just kind of came about.
For sure. I mean, those signs are gonna be there, and it's up to you to capitalize on them
Yeah.
or not. And I think that that's what maybe one of my gifts is being able to recognize those signs and then capitalizing on it. But yeah, like even looking at it now, like I still have that sort of fear inside of me that like one day, the other shoe's gonna drop. But then the other like reality of it is like, dude, you've been doing this for 15 years.
So there's just those two spectrums of thought process.
For
that
sure. And I
come
think that
across.
you have to have that, because the one feeds the other.
Yeah.
But I mean, the reality of it is, dude, if you're doing anything for 15 years, if you're playing basketball for 15 years, like you're just going to get better and better and better and better at it. And what if I don't want to do Downstar or cars or whatever anymore? I have 15 years of experience of doing what I want to
Business.
do in business
Yeah.
and all the things that I've learned, the network that I've created, then I could just do whatever else I want to do.
Yeah, no, I think that's an awesome insight to have because a lot of people, they go into the business with the thought process of just kind of like trying to make money.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that when I was younger, that was the biggest thing to me was money, and the reason is because I just didn't have any. Even when I didn't have money, I wanted to make it seem
Right.
like I had money. I wanted to be able to appear like that I was well off or what have you.
Yeah,
you
right.
know. But when you get to a point where you have enough money that you could take care of your bills, you could buy whatever you want. You could go out to eat dinner or whatever you want to do.
Right.
Then it really makes you evaluate life. and you're like, okay, now I've already reached that goal that maybe the majority of people never reach, where it's you're not having to chase the money anymore. You're like, wow, this doesn't feel like I thought it was gonna feel. Because when I was younger, if you would have told me that I have what I have now, I would have think, well, life is good, everything's good, I'm
Yeah.
happy, I'm chilling. But it's like that. Then it makes you really question yourself, like what really what is your purpose? What brings you happiness? And before it was just money, and now it's like it's good. I need
I see you as
money
a family man for sure.
for sure, and
I see that a lot.
that's what it's that's who I am,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, what about with everything else? How has Downstar transitioned to what it means for you now? Because, like, some people, they might just want to keep doing it for revenue, right?
Yeah.
But other people continue to do it because it means something to them.
I mean, Downstar is me. It's like I said, it was created in 2001, and that there wasn't a dream of. Even though I say I wanted my own business, I never thought that I would have my own business. I was just playing business, But that was business. I was offering a product, and I was getting paid for it. I was making profit on it, and I was building relationships
Right.
with my clientele, and that was business, So Downstar is me. It is who I am.
I also think that, like, it's engraved in you, that, like, hustler mentality, that you're willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
I see you as someone who is not willing to get down and dirty to figure out what you need, especially if you have a core interest in it.
Yeah, there's nothing that I wouldn't do that needs to get done.
Nice.
Whatever needs to get done, I'm gonna do it because I've done it. Like when I was selling those CDs, at the same time, I'm working as a janitor
Oh, you
at
were?
the El Rio School District. My uncle.
While you were going to high school?
Yeah, so I was a sophomore. So my uncle, he was the head
Talk about child labor.
custodian. Yeah, right. He was the head custodian for the El Rio School District, and they had like a student program where you would get you would have maybe 6 classrooms to clean, and you would get paid whatever,
Right.
$9 an hour,
Yeah,
eight
yeah.
bucks an hour, or whatever it was. So I was cleaning classrooms as I'm a child. This was before I even drove, because I remember my parents would drop me off and they would pick me up. But it's like I've done everything. There's nothing that I wouldn't do, and there's nothing that I can't do.
I love that.
Every aspect of the business, I do it. From marketing to dealing with customers, dealing with issues, packing orders, shipping, even the podcast. I'm 100% myself. From setting up the networking with the guest, having the courage to ask them to be on the podcast, thinking of things to talk about,
Right.
editing the podcast, the video, learning how to edit video, like 100% is through me. Photoshop. I've learned all of that stuff because, well, I need to know how to change this logo, so let me figure it out.
Yeah,
And then I figured it out, and yeah, I think that's really important, is to be able to know how to do everything.
Yeah, I think you are willing to do what it takes because it's just engraved in you,
For
so
sure.
that's going to be something that you sustain. I think that's the reason why you're probably, for my prediction, you're probably going to continue with Downstar for a while.
It's not going anywhere
Yeah.
anytime soon.
I love that. I
And
love
whether it pivots from automotive to whatever it is,
Yeah,
it
interesting.
doesn't. It's just gonna be. It is what it is.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then that came with, and you mentioned before you've always been trying to start a podcast, and then you had the skate shop. Like,
Yeah.
how did those transitions off branch even come about?
So, as I'm working at Downstar, my whole entire life is cars. Everything, all the friends that I have, all the conversations that I have, all the trips that I go on, everything is based around cars. But that's not all that I'm into. I have so many different things that I'm into, different conversations that I like to be a part of. And like the automotive community, the conversations that you're gonna have are very, very like I don't know if shallow is the word to use, but very base level. Not
Surface
really,
level,
yeah, surface level. Not really talking about anything
personal.
deep or talking about thoughts
It's very
or
transactional.
yes, exactly. And you can go to a car show and you have the same conversation 13 times because it's just like, oh, hey, how you been? How's your car? Okay. So I was always into so many other things and life development and things like that and just learning knowledge. So now I was into podcasts
Yeah.
as like a hobby. I would listen to podcasts. That's all I would listen to. I mean, besides music, but it definitely did become something, a big part of my life, listening to podcasts. And then I wanted to start my own podcast because I wanted to just have conversations with people about life and not really about cars. So that's why it's called Downtime with Downstar, because it's like this is the combo I want to have on my downtime. And a lot of the guests that we had in the beginning were automotive guests because that was my network. But then slowly but surely my network started to grow, and then I started to get outside of my comfort zone. And to this day, I've had so many random guests on the podcast, like they have nothing to do with cars. And even if we have somebody that's an automotive guest, like I really don't care much to talk about cars. I'd rather talk about
Their life and
their
values.
life, why they got that car, how they acquired it, their thought process behind it, rather than like just the surface level
Right, right,
of
right.
the
I
cars.
I love that because like for me, I also like feel like life operates in more than just one or two dimensional. Meaning, we're just talking about money or sex or love or health. Right?
Yeah,
There's more to it. It's like how you represent yourself, your emotion, your spiritual sense of self. Right?
for sure.
So yeah, man, I do see that you invest in yourself quite often. I mean, you just finished 75 hard, I think a week before I did.
Yeah, so that was March 15th. Yeah, so when Andy Frisella, the creator of 75 Hard, he put a challenge out there, that he was gonna do 75 hard, and if you hadn't done it, everybody like was gonna start. There's gonna be a mass amount of people that were gonna start on January 1st. So I had done 75 hard before in 2021. Yeah, 21. I've did 75 hard, and it was hard. It was really
You
really
finished
hard.
it.
Yes,
Because the first time I did
first time.
it, now that I was looking back at it after I finished, it was 2019, and I left at like day 40 or 50 because
Ooh.
I was like, and it wasn't because I failed. It was more so like this was stupid. At the time, I thought that, right?
Okay.
That was my thought process. I was like, this was taking too much time on me. I don't need to. I'm physically fit in my own version, right? And I felt that it wasn't needed, So I didn't have a different perspective on it than what I did when I did it this time.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
So when I finished it the first time, it kind of left me traumatized to a point where I was just like, dude, I do not want to work out, and I don't. That was a lot.
Interesting.
So fast forward to late 2023, it's like, man, I need to kick myself back into gear. I got to see if I still got it. So I decided that I was gonna do 75 hard, with Andy and everybody else
This was
on
back in like end of 2023.
2023. So January 1st, 24. That was when everybody was gonna start to do it again. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna start it. And then my wife actually surprised me that she wanted to do it as
I seen
well.
that. That was
And
pretty cool.
yeah, and I was so excited because she'd been talking about wanting to do it, but you have to do it when it's right for you, when you're ready to do
Right,
it
right,
yourself.
right.
So she told me that she was gonna do it, and I was so excited, and we did it. And doing it with your doing it with a partner is awesome, but like with your significant other, it definitely helps you bond in such a different way. And it makes it a lot easier because when I was doing it at first, like my family was, still living their own regular life.
Right,
And
right, right.
I'm torturing myself. So
Working a lot.
so it was like when my wife is cooking dinner now or we're gonna go eat, like we're both on the same page. And every January we go to Big Bear for just to start the year off right. And we were actually doing 75 hard in Big Bear on vacation.
Sounds
while
fun.
it's snowing. Like it was a lot, man. But it just definitely got me to the place where I needed to be.
That's
back.
amazing. I do like how programs like this, even if you feel like whether you feel that it's unnecessary or not, it does expose you to the things if your goal was to complete it. Because it for me, life is all about like growth, right? Like, but the only way you experience growth is through these hardships because the hardships expose you to the things that you're unknown to. So like something like 75 hard is just going to expose you what you are currently weak in.
Yeah, for
You know?
sure.
Yeah, I mean, besides even that, I mean, like you seem to have like a good foundation of like how you keep yourself motivated or just like in essence keep on grinding.
It's the discipline, motivation. It comes and goes, and I wish it was something that was there all the time. But I mean, the reality of it is it's not.
Right.
But in between those moments of motivation, you have to be disciplined, and that's one thing that I know myself that I have to stick to that
Why? Why is that important to you?
because that is the building block of any success that you want to have in life.
So
Say skateboarding.
So you would say you value success.
Yes, not. I mean, success is defined
Defined
differently.
differently. But your
for
version of
every
success, you
person.
value it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I want to be better than I was 5 years ago. I want to be better than I was
You
last
value
year.
growth and
I want to be better than
Right.
I was
Love that.
yesterday. I always want to be better. And I'm always evaluating the things that I've done. Like I know when I do something that the reason that I did it was, malice or to hurt someone's
Okay.
feeling.
Yeah.
I know when I do something out of the goodness of my heart and, whether other people know it or not, I know it. And, I evaluate those things. And like, you know what, man, you didn't have to do that.
Right.
Or you could have done that or what have you. So whenever that situation comes up again, I always evaluate it and, just get better.
Reflect on it.
Always trying to get better. And the way to get better is through discipline because that takes discipline.
Yeah.
Just because I hadn't eaten all day or I didn't have coffee and I snapped on somebody, that's my fault. That's my reason that I wasn't able to
Control yourself.
control myself, of course. Yeah. So if I didn't have discipline, then it would just keep happening over and over again, and the lesson goes unlearned. And I need to learn these lessons because the more that you learn, the more that you grow.
Absolutely.
So it's the discipline. And before I started 75 hard the first time, I knew that the water was going to be the hardest thing for me, which I don't know if many people that have done it can agree.
Oh man.
But I started drinking a gallon of water before I even attempted 75
Oh,
hard.
good for you. So you're doing what's called eating the frog. That's what they call it. It's like you eat the hardest. You do the hardest thing in the day, in the beginning of the day first.
Yeah, I was just torturing myself. I like to call it torture, But even when I finished 75 hard, yeah, I pretty much everything else fell off besides the water. And there would be some days that I wouldn't finish the gallon. And then there would be, some weeks that I would be falling off. And then, I have to check myself. Like, this is what you need to do. You need to drink this gallon of water a day. That's what you need to do. And if you're not doing it, you're fucking up. I don't care how much water, my weight, I'm supposed to drink. I don't care what a doctor's supposed to say. I don't care if somebody else doesn't drink. No, this is the deal that I've made with
It's the
myself.
discipline that you value the most.
Exactly.
I'm a big believer in also in how you do anything is how you do everything. right? So if I commit to something and I fall behind on it just because of simple things and I give myself the excuse. The way I see it is like, for example, the water, right? If I don't drink the water, or if I drink the water early or too late, it's like it's a reflection of how I do other things in life.
Yeah,
You know?
and it's totally true, you know.
Yeah.
And there's so many things in my life that I have opportunities in, and like I'm glad that I know it, and I'm glad that I recognize it, and I'm glad I'm not bullshitting myself on it because I could.
Yeah.
The position that I'm at in life right now, there's so many things that I could bullshit. You know, I can stay at work until 9 p.m. and not see my family because, well, this is how we make a living. This is what needs to be done. This is what I'm going to do. But I'm bullshitting myself. I could do both. And that's what I'm going to do
Nice.
because my business isn't a priority over, it doesn't mean more to me than my family
Love
means.
that.
If I want to be successful, success to me is successful in any aspect that I see. Successful as being a husband, being a father, being a business owner, being a friend. And I'm going to do the most I can in all of these things. And if one has to get taken away from the other, like all of my pleasures are going to be taken away before any of that's getting taken away because those are the things that are important to me.
Well, I love that you shared that distinction of like how discipline plays a big role in your life in order to protect those core things that you really value, which is like your friends, your family, being a husband, being a father, being a friend, right? So that's very amazing to hear from someone. I mean, not often we get enough conversation to talk about the importance of discipline and just like where it actually connects into.
For sure.
Right. So going back into your podcast, I mean, I'm just curious because this is something that I share with a few people, and I'm curious to see how it's played a role with your business. I know you started the podcast for the aspect of just networking, having deeper conversations, because it became something that you were genuinely interested in. Just out of curiosity, do you feel it's affected your brand or influenced your brand differently?
It's definitely helped it. It's helped people understand who I am,
Who
what
Downstar is?
who is behind the brand, what the brand means, the conversations that I would have. You know, some people would talk about the podcast to me at car shows. Hey, what's up, man?
That's awesome.
You know, I listen to the podcast. I love it. Like saying that means more to me than liking our product.
Right.
you know?
Or making transaction.
Yeah,
Right?
which doesn't make any sense because we make money from the product. you know?
Right.
But
No,
it's
no, actually, to me, it does.
Yeah.
Because like what you're doing in order to really build your community is that you have to build trust and connection, and you can't. Yes, you can build trust and connection through transactions alone because it might be something that they need, but you can build longer term trust and relations because they know you, because they resonate with your values, they align with who you are, and it's just something that they can identify themselves with.
yeah. I mean, I'm definitely an open book. You know, I always say that
I love
like
that.
I could bullshit who I am on social media all day long, but it's hard to do in a 2 hour conversation
For sure.
times 200. You know, if you
That
listen,
many episodes, yeah.
yeah. So
Wow.
we're about like 260 right
260.
now. You know, and in all of
I
those
gotta step
episodes,
my game up.
there was a point where I was doing 2 podcasts a week,
Wow.
and
It's actually just recent that I just did at least one episodes a week because of this location here at
Yeah.
A Plus Branding. But before I would do it at seasons. Like I would say
okay,
for
got you.
2-3 months I would have 10 to 16 guests or just topics.
Gotcha.
Right? Because I knew that I was also building my agency, or at the time I was working my business, or I was just doing it, while working my job at the time. But at the time it was just like, well, how far can I go?
For sure.
You know?
It's just time. You know, you only have a certain amount of time in
Yeah.
a day, and what are you going to dedicate it towards? You know, like I have maybe about 4 pods in the tuck right now.
Right now?
ready
In
to go.
development?
Like I just need to edit them
Okay.
and put them up.
Yeah.
And like I wish that I had more time to do that, But right now there's been some changes in the business, so I had to take over some roles that I didn't have to do before. And it's just that's what needs to keep rolling
Yeah.
right now. The podcast. And I'm not saying that I don't have time because I could. I
Right.
could do it if I wanted to. But I spent so much of my 20s hustling and tweaking out, bro, and just like, stressing. I'm like, yo, I don't want to do it tonight, you know? And the reason why the podcast isn't here, there, or wherever I envisioned it in my head is just because I haven't put the time into it.
You're accountable.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I can
it's
understand.
everything in my life. The business could definitely be larger than it is now, but would I still would I still have that same connection that I have with my family? Would they feel the same way
Yeah.
about me as they do now? Like, what would I lose? Because the time that I would spend on my business is going to have to come from somewhere.
Yep.
And I can't stay up late and wake up early like I used to when I was younger.
Bro, I'm doing that now.
Yeah. How old are you?
28.
You still got some time, bro.
How old are you?
Yeah,
Let me ask you.
I'm 39.
39. Damn,
Yeah.
you still seem so young.
I'm definitely young at heart, man.
I love that. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm still a kid.
Yeah, as you should. I still feel the same way.
I love that.
My son, he's 17, and
Wow.
like we'll go skateboard and we'll be with his buddies, and I'm just like one of the friends. We're chilling out, hanging out. We'll go take drives to LA or something like that, and it's just the things that he listens to are the things I listen to. The
Yeah.
things that he watches, I'll either watch it or at least know what's going on in it. And I think like age is. It's as long as you're taking care of your business, what does it even matter? I don't want to be like a 40-year-old. That's just not. That's not me, dude. I'm gonna do whatever I want. I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna skateboard, and if that's as long as my home base is taken care of,
Secure.
that's all that matters.
Love that. Love that. Cool. Well, I definitely appreciate your time. I wanted to expand a little more on like your podcast. I think you have one also with your wife as well, right?
Yeah, so we're actually that it's a lot more like a fun and relaxed podcast, and we'll like have conversations that we wouldn't have publicly,
Ah.
and then we'll have them for the podcast. Talk shit or whatever, whatever it
Okay,
is.
okay, cool,
And I
cool.
think we're actually gonna have an episode tonight.
No, really.
Yeah, hopefully we can make it happen. But she's really great at podcasting, and I mean we vibe so well, and it's so fun just to sit down with her.
Yeah, I
and
do
just
love
to talk.
the radiance or energy, the vibe that I get from just seeing what you guys have all
Thank
together. Not just with her, but your family together.
Thank
I
you
can
so
tell that
much.
you have a very like if there was a list, that your family would be right there on top.
It's just number one because that's part of me. That's who I am. That's what defines me. This my family. That's my literal legacy. Because if I stopped doing Downstar, if I just turn the website off now, give a few years or whatever, and life's gonna go on. But they're still gonna be around. That's my legacy. When I'm not around, my kids are gonna talk about me. The people that I've left an impact on their life.
Yeah, I love that you're not attached to that experience. You're open to the possibilities. Cool. So with Downstar and your skate shop, the podcast, what are you looking forward to, or what do you envision for Downstar to just happen in the next maybe 5 years, 10 years?
Just do more fun stuff.
More fun stuff?
More fun stuff. I want to buy back a lot more of my time. That's definitely what I want to do. That's my focus now. I would like to have a bigger facility, maybe something like this.
Okay.
Where you have multiple studios, and then we could have a skate area.
Love that.
A place for cars, and just like a home away from home. I would love to have
that's
something
what I
like
tend to That's what I tend to subconsciously create. Like all of this stuff is because it makes me feel like home.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm a creative before I'm anything. Before I'm a business owner,
Same.
I'm a creative.
Same.
So I just want to create more. Like I love um, editing videos and making content, and that's what I want to do. That's why I
We gotta
love.
do more collaborations. Man.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm
I
glad that.
love creating stuff too, man. That's what I'm all about, you know. But
Yeah.
okay, cool. And then besides having more facility or having a bigger facility, what else do you envision?
Mm, just creating. I don't know. I don't know what. We'll see where it goes. I don't have like a 5 year plan. I don't have because it's like I have everything that I've ever wanted right now.
That's
Like,
a great place to be at. Not even like financially or physically, but just in the place of mind to know that you have everything.
yeah,
You know?
there's nothing that I mean materialistically just a Lamborghini and that's it.
We could all
You
use
know?
some Lamborghinis.
Yeah, but even that I know when I get that it's not going to be
It's not gonna
what I
define
thought it
your
was going to
happiness.
be when I was a young kid, you know? It's just going to be
It's just
a
a way to get
trophy.
there.
It's
you
just
know?
going to be something nice to have parked
Yeah.
in the driveway. But like
I
I've
love
got every material thing that I've ever wanted. You know, I'm happy with where I'm at right now. All I want is time. That's all I want. You know, and I'm going to do the most that I can to free up more time where everything runs seamlessly without me there. So I could just wake up in the morning and think, what am I going to create today? Who do I want to link up with? What can we do? And not for I mean, you know, I don't want to say like not for the views and the exposure and things like that because all of that is
It
great.
comes as a secondary.
Definitely. I want to create things. I want to make things like that I could look back at and it's going to be
I love that.
timestamps in my life.
Have you ever? Did you ever keep those tapes of VHS of your family? Not your current family now, but like, you know, at the time by any chance?
When I was a kid, I don't even think that there was that much of that.
Yeah.
you
Well,
know?
the reason why I bring it up is because back in Philippines, my parents had a bunch of VHS tapes, and I really valued them. You know, so I think that's where I got my idea of like documenting and creating. So I'm with you in the aspect of like, hey, I want to continue creating. Like my biggest like goal overall is to create a lifestyle that I can have the freedom to create.
For sure. And that's exactly what I want.
Yeah, so I can
you know?
resonate with you on that.
And I want the freedom, you know.
I love that.
You know, creating things and capturing them. That's literally time travel because you could watch it and you
Damn.
get back to that point in your life. You get that exact feeling of where you were at,
That's true.
where your mentality was at. You know, I'll watch old YouTube videos of maybe like 2016 or so, and I can just envision where I was at that time.
Nice.
What when I'm saying whatever I'm saying in those
Yeah.
videos, I could remember where I was at in my head while I
that.
was saying it, what I wanted the outcome
Yep.
to be, what did I want the viewers to capture as I'm making this content, you know, and a lot of it is for me to actually see the growth
growth,
of how far
yes.
that I've come.
For me, I look back in the past and I cringe a little.
For sure. For sure.
But I do appreciate the growth.
Yeah.
You know, I love seeing like, oh wow, like look how much things has changed, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I'll look back at something that I did was 6 months ago, you know, and be like, damn, I wish I didn't do that. But if I didn't do that, then I wouldn't know not to do
Exactly.
that anymore. You know, the way that I treat people, the way that I operate, like I'm learning from everything. I think I'm half AI already. Ever since I was a
What do you
kid.
say that? What do you say that?
When I realized the value of the internet, I was tapped in, you know, and out of that came downloading music, but it also came, you know, creating online like drawing
It's
on.
a resource for you.
Of course,
Yeah.
yeah, and then being on Facebook when it was only for college students,
I was
being on
on. Wow.
MySpace, being always on the forefront of the social
Mm-hmm.
medias. Like I was able to turn Downstar into a social media presence
Mm.
before that was like even a thing, you know?
Yeah.
And I can get in front of my computer and have my headphones on and I could stay there. I could stay there all day.
Mm.
All day. As long as I have something to do. Like the best times are when it's 11 o'clock at night to 2 in the morning. Bro, I could cook up some crazy stuff.
Bro, I feel you.
And it's just the ideas that I have. And I'll make an edit.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make a reel. I'll make an edit for product or whatever. Um, and I'm just like, wow, how did I do that? And it's just tapping into the muse. Like
I love that.
you have
Ability to create, right?
you have to be tapped in, and I feel like once you're tapped in, and this entity, whatever it
Ooh.
is gonna understand that you're putting in the work, and
Yep.
it's gonna feed you these ideas.
I like that. Actually, I got this tattoo. It's called it's an infinite sign.
Uh-huh.
It says create possibilities. The infinite sign. I read from a book a while back how at least that's how I envisioned the symbol is. But they said that the infinite what did they call it? The infinite possibility or the infinite resource or whatever it was. The subconscious mind has this infinite resource that you can accumulate, but like once you put your brain into it, you can think of solutions.
For
And I'm a
sure.
big believer that everything else that has come into life as far as inventions and innovations have come from nothing, right? And we came about it because we had a thought and said, hey, what if this happened?
Sometimes you'll see like an idea, and you're like, man, I thought of that 6 months ago. Like, and that's the exact thing. That's because that was the time for that thing to happen. And you were offered that idea and you didn't take
Execute
it,
and
and
yeah,
somebody else
someone
did.
took it. It's like from the infinite possibilities.
It is. Because how are you going to create something that is out of thin air? If you've never thought of it,
Yeah, tap into it.
how are you going to think about
love
it?
that. I
No,
love
this
that.
it's from somewhere else. It's from something else. Whether it's from a past lifetime, whether it's from a different dimension,
Yeah.
whether it's from an ancestor, or whether it's from this unknown thing that is just understanding like what you're into, what you would enjoy, and it's saying, "Oh, okay, this song
Yeah.
would work for this
Yeah,
edit."
yeah, for sure.
Damn, I never even thought about that song.
Yeah, and then
Like
it's blowing you up, right?
probably one of the best things that I like to do is to show people the things that I've created, like the reels, videos, things like that, and actually break it down and explain why I chose this, why I chose that. Because if you look at it, most people are, like we said, surface level. They'll just see it and it's like, oh, that's cool. Like, nah, you don't understand it because, like,
Let me tell you more about it.
exactly. Like, there's this video I did with my son, and it was about him getting kicked out of the house, trying to find a place to stay, going to the skate park because that was the only place that he knew.
So there's a skit.
It's like a video, like a short film.
Okay.
And one of the songs that I used was a song. I don't even know the song. It's a Mac Miller song. I wasn't even a fan of Mac Miller, but this song, it might even be called Kids, but it's from like the mixtape Kids.
Right.
And the movie Kids is about kids that are, they're living life how they want to live it, and they're rebelling, and that's what my son was portraying in that short
Wow.
film. So that's why I used that song. And the reason I used that song is that I've heard that song before, and I have this playlist where if I just like a song, I'll just put it on the playlist. So it's completely random songs. And I was listening to that song as I'm editing. I'm like, bro, this song is
fits.
perfect. And I put it in there and it worked out
That's
perfectly.
awesome. Yeah, you gotta show that clip. One of these.
Yeah,
days.
I'll definitely show it to you. Like
Yeah.
when I'll sit down with a buddy and we'll be smoking or something, I'll just be there showing them videos and they're just like, okay.
I definitely see you as someone who's passionate for creating. We're gonna transition to kind of closing it out because I know you have a lot of things going on as well. I definitely appreciate your time.
Of course, likewise.
With A Plus Branding, they were actually supposed to give you stuff, but we had a little bit of default at the machine.
worries,
so you
bro.
you saw the thing that we were gonna give you.
Thank you.
But the funny thing was, we'll hand that to you as soon as we can because we had a little special treatment for
Thank
you.
you.
Something
Thank
that we're
you.
doing for our guests.
I like that. That's a great idea.
No, yeah, it definitely helps out. I mean, I'm appreciative of anybody who comes in my platform,
Thank
So
you.
for anybody who's tapping in, who wants to connect with you, look into your shop or other stuff, can we get some links or, directions of where they can find it?
Yeah, sure. I just like to direct everybody to our Instagram. So that would be at Downstar. And then my personal Instagram is Frank_Downstar.
Nice.
And through both of those, you'll be able to find whatever you're looking for.
Podcast,
But, your
skate shop.
yeah, if you're on Spotify, SoundCloud, whatever, just search Downstar. YouTube, just search Downstar. It's out there.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I definitely think the length of this episode doesn't do it justice. However, I do appreciate your time again, Frank.
Of course.
Thank
you.
And yeah, no, I can't wait to see how else your shop and your vision, whatever else you create with you, will manifest. But other than that, I mean, yeah, do you wanna anything you wanna drop up before we close out the episode?
No, I just wanted to thank you for having me and, for doing this.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to do this.
I love doing this.
And it's amazing to see somebody doing something that they want to do and something
Thank you.
that they're passionate about. And I don't think most people understand it if they've never done it.
For sure.
But just seeing what you have here and what you've built here and what you've dedicated your time to, this is amazing.
Thank you, man.
And
It's an honor having you,
thank you, and I wish you the most success.
Thank you. Cool. Well, for anybody tuning in, thanks for listening to this episode, and we'll see you in the next one.
Boom.
Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed the episode. We'll be doing more episodes like this where we bring on professionals, experts, leaders to voice what they stand for. So if you haven't already, make sure to follow or subscribe so that you can tune in to the next and latest episode.